There's a reason you feel weaker, slower, less driven. And it's not just in your head, it's in your habits. One habit in particular, one that drains your energy, poisons your focus, and robs you of the fire you need to become something more. You know the habit I'm talking about, but no one wants to face it because it's easy, because it feels good, because we're told it's normal. But normal doesn't make you strong. The ancient Stoics knew the truth. They didn't chase comfort. They built their power through restraint. Today, you'll learn 6 timeless lessons from the greatest minds in history to help you stop this habit, reclaim your strength, and rise above the weakness that's kept you stuck for too long. Lesson 1: Self-discipline, the gateway to freedom. The Stoics didn't view discipline as punishment. They saw it as the foundation of inner strength. Epictetus, a man who was born into chains, taught that a person who cannot rule himself will always be ruled by something else. And when it comes to the habit you're trying to break, the enemy isn't outside of you. It's that whisper in your mind, the one that says, just this once. You deserve it. It doesn't matter. But it does matter. Because every time you give in to that whisper, you're not just chasing pleasure. You're reinforcing weakness. And weakness grows like a weed. Here's the truth. The modern world doesn't tell you discipline is freedom. It's the ability to say no. Not because you hate pleasure, but because you love who you're becoming more. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, lived in a palace, but trained his mind like a soldier. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you resist the urge, even once, you plant a seed of identity, a man who chooses his path." And like training a muscle, the more you use that discipline, the stronger it becomes. It doesn't mean the urge disappears. It means you stop answering its call, because the man you're becoming doesn't serve impulses. He commands them. Lesson 2: Purpose, the antidote to empty habits. Why do so many men fall into this habit again and again, even when they know it's draining them? It's not weakness, it's emptiness. Because when a man lacks purpose, he becomes vulnerable, not just to distractions, but to self-destruction. Seneca said it best: to be everywhere is to be nowhere. In a world filled with noise, algorithms, instant gratification, it's easy to feel busy without ever building anything meaningful. And when your mind is idle, your desires take over. Think about your most productive days, the ones where you felt locked in, focused, moving towards something bigger. Did the urge hit you as hard on those days? Or was it drowned out by drive? That's not a coincidence. The Stoics taught that energy, when not directed toward virtue, will collapse into vice. Purpose is your compass, your armor, your anchor. Without it, your attention wanders, and your energy leaks into habits that feel good now, but destroy you later. But when your life is anchored by something bigger, a mission, a craft, a cause, you don't have time to be pulled down by empty indulgence. Marcus Aurelius wasn't scrolling. He wasn't numbing himself with easy pleasure. He was running an empire and journaling about how to become a better man. If you want to stop the cycle, you can't just resist the habit. You have to replace the emptiness with something meaningful. Building, train, learn, serve, and most of all, pursue something that demands your best. Because a man with a mission doesn't need to escape. He needs every ounce of his strength to fulfill it. Lesson 3. Transmutation, turning desire into drive. Most men think their desires are the problem, but they're not. The problem is where they aim them. That urge you feel, the craving for pleasure, the tension in your body, the constant pull to escape and to release. It's not weakness. It's potential. The Stoics didn't believe in suppressing energy. They believed in redirecting it, in transforming it into something higher. That's transmutation, and it's the lost art of masculine power. Today, most men are taught to relieve themselves the moment they feel tension. But that release doesn't solve the problem. It just numbs the signal. And every time you do it, your body gets the message. We don't need to grow. We don't need to act. We've already been rewarded. But the reward wasn't earned. No empire was built. No weight lifted. No skill sharpened. Just dopamine, wasted in the dark. Now picture the opposite. A man who feels that same fire, but doesn't let it leak out. He holds it. He breathes through it. And he channels it into training, into building, into mastering himself. That's how ancient warriors lived. That's how Stoic philosophers trained. They weren't ruled by pleasure. They ruled over it. And modern science now backs what they knew intuitively. Retention of sexual energy can lead to increased testosterone, sharper focus, and deeper clarity. Why? Because when the body feels that pressure building, it prepares for action. But if you never act, you just release. You break the cycle of strength. Nikola Tesla chose lifelong celibacy because he believed his mind functioned at a higher frequency when that energy wasn't scattered. And you don't have to go that far, but you do have to make a choice. Will you burn your power in minutes, or will you store it and forge it into something real? Because once you learn to transmute that energy, you stop chasing pleasure and start chasing power. And power is what makes kings out of ordinary men. Lesson 4. The power of delayed gratification. We live in a culture addicted to now. One-tap pleasure, 2-second rewards. Scroll, click, release, repeat. But here's the cost no one talks about. The more you feed the need for instant gratification, the weaker your will becomes. It's like feeding a fire junk food. It burns fast. It burns bright. Then it dies. And that's what happens to your potential when you chase easy highs. The Stoics understood this long before dopamine was discovered. They believed that the man who could endure discomfort was the man who could shape the world. Marcus Aurelius endured war, betrayal, plague, and yet he ruled with calm and discipline. Not because life was easy, but because he had trained himself to value what comes later more than what tempts now. And this is the lesson. Power belongs to the man who can wait. Not the man who waits passively, but the one who delays gratification with purpose. The body may crave pleasure, but the mind, when trained, can delay that craving and convert it into progress. Think about this. Every time you say no to that quick hit of dopamine, you say yes to your future self. the man who's stronger, leaner, clearer, more capable. Modern psychology backs this up. In the famous marshmallow test, the children who could delay gratification became more successful decades later in income, relationships, even health. Why? Because the ability to delay gratification is the root of all achievement. You can't build muscle in a day. You can't build wealth in a week. And you can't build character without discipline over desire. So next time the urge hits you, stop, breathe, and ask the Stoics question: is this necessary? Because the man who can delay the impulse is the man who controls his destiny. Lesson 5. Inner mastery, controlling the mind, not the impulse. You can delete the apps, burn the bridges, lock the doors. But if your mind is still ruled by craving, you're not free. The Stoics didn't waste time fighting the external world. They turned inward and conquered the only battlefield that ever mattered: the mind. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Most men today think they need better habits, but what they really need is a stronger mind, because everything begins with a thought, the impulse to escape, the story you tell yourself, the decision to give in or rise above. If your thoughts remain unguarded, your actions will always betray you. That's why the Stoics trained their minds like warriors. Every day they reflected, they journaled, they questioned their desires. They didn't try to destroy the urge. They observed it, they understood it, then they chose how to respond. That is inner mastery. It's not about suppression, it's about awareness. Every time the craving arises and you pause, even for 5 seconds, you shift from being a slave to becoming a sovereign. You're no longer reacting, you're responding with intention. And that moment, that tiny pause, is where power lives. Because when you can observe your thoughts without obeying them, you've already won the battle. And that's what the Stoics mastered. Not the world, but themselves. And until you do the same, no strategy, no trick, no tactic will last. Lesson 6. Becoming the man you were meant to be. Everything you've resisted, everything you've endured, every urge you've overcome, it wasn't about the habit. It was about becoming someone else. The Stoics didn't pursue virtue to impress others. They pursued it because it was the path to becoming fully human, the best version of themselves. And so are you. Every moment you say no to pleasure, every second you hold the line, every time you choose to act with intention instead of impulse, you carve out a new identity. You stop being a man controlled by cravings and start being the man who commands his direction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the Stoic way, not to fantasize about potential, but to build it, piece by piece, choice by choice. Because masculinity isn't given, it's forged. And you forge it in the silence, in the resistance, in the fire of self-denial that becomes self-mastery. Most men live and die ruled by desire. They chase ease, they chase comfort, they chase shadows. But the Stoic man, he chases virtue, and what he finds isn't just discipline or clarity or strength. What he finds is himself, the man he was meant to be. Not someday, but now, in this moment, with every choice he makes. Final segment. Now the question is no longer, can you stop? The question is, will you? Will you keep giving your strength to a habit that leaves you emptier each time? Or will you rise above it, like the Stoics before you, and reclaim what was always yours? Your energy, your purpose, your power. Because here's the truth, no one is coming to save you. No one will stop the urge for you. No one can walk this path but you, and the man you want to become. He's not waiting in some distant future. He's forged, moment by moment, by what you do now. So when the next urge hits, what choice will you make? And if you're ready to walk the path of the Stoic, subscribe for more.